Hey, what's up? My name is Crystal. Welcome to our channel. I'm in my kitchen today. It's the weekend and it is fall time. It's beautiful outside. I'm just so happy to be here, and I'm happy you're here too because we are canning up jellied cranberry sauce and I'm so excited. It's one of my most favorite things. We are going into the holiday season and I'm so excited to have some homemade cranberry sauce in the pantry. The recipe I got was out of the Ball Blue Book Guide to Preserving. I will have it down in the description, the Amazon link, if you are interested. Here we go. It is page 21. There's two recipes. There's the, if you like the jellied kind, that's that one. And then underneath that is the whole berry. So the one with like the actual berries in it. We are traditionalists, so to speak, and we prefer the jellied kind that comes out of the can. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna go get one and I'm gonna show you why this one's better. In relation to a lot of the other things that we eat, the ingredients in this are pretty straightforward. They're pretty simple, but let me read them to you. Cranberries is number one. High fructose corn syrup, and water is the ingredients in the classic jellied cranberry sauce that you can buy at the store. The ingredients in the one that I made yesterday is cranberries and sugar. I added a little tiny bit of butter just because it was foaming a lot, and when you're making jams, jellies, soft spreads, things like this, adding a fat to something with a lot of sugar in it minimizes the foam when it's boiling. Now the cranberries came from the store. I got 2 bags of frozen cranberries. I was hoping to get a couple more jars out of it. The recipe called for 4.5 cups of cranberries and each bag was about 4 cups. The ratios weren't exactly the same, but I kept what was in the book the same because it really wasn't that much of a difference. It's a very simple process, a little tedious when I was trying to get the seeds out. My arm started to get tired, but other than that, I think it'll be worth it. Let me show you what it looks like. We have some here. My daughter said she liked it better than the one that came from the store. She said it was less sweet. So like usual, I will have all the timestamps down in the description. So if there's a certain step that you are looking for, please just go ahead down in the description and you can click the link of the chapters and it will bring you right to that part in the video. Also, if you could give this video a thumbs up, I really appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button so you know when we share new videos. We really appreciate you being here, and with that, we're gonna get into it because I'm really excited to share this with you. It was really easy and it's super delicious.
Let's start with the supplies and ingredients I'm using to make and then can the jellied cranberry sauce. I have a small stock pot to cook the berries down and make the sauce, a food mill with the fine cutting disc at the bottom, so the disc that has the smallest holes, a mesh strainer. I'm using our electric water bath canner. You do not need one. You can use any water bath canner or just a very large stock pot with a lid. Just make sure that you have some sort of rack on the bottom to prevent the jars from sitting directly on the bottom and clanking around, which can cause them to break. The canning jars I'm using are wide mouth pint jars. These will be good for cranberry sauce. Using jars without shoulders like these, wide mouth jars, or the half pint jelly jars are great for serving the cranberry sauce easily. Wide mouth lids and bands, canning funnel, ladle, bubble tool that measures headspace, jar grippers, a silicone spatula, candy thermometer, metal spoon for the gel test and to taste test, towel for the countertop, a lint-free cloth like a t-shirt rag or a flour sack towel, and distilled white vinegar for cleaning the jar rims. For the ingredients to make the recipe, I'm using frozen cranberries that I have thawed slightly. Together they total about 8 cups. I have sugar, water, and butter for reducing foam. Again, I am using the jellied cranberry sauce recipe on page 21 of the Ball Blue Book Guide to Preserving. You can find the link to that book along with any of the other links down in the description, or you can just check out our Amazon storefront for many of the things that I'm using. I let the frozen cranberries thaw for a couple of hours, then I measured to see how many I have. The recipe calls for 4¼ cups of cranberries to make 2 pint jars. I wanted to double that, so I am using 2 bags. But that only came to about 8 cups of cranberries. So I'm about a half a cup shy of what I need, but that's okay. I'm not gonna alter the recipe over a half cup of berries. I rinsed the berries quickly and inspected them to make sure there weren't any yucky ones. The good thing about using frozen berries like this is they are usually in really good condition and frozen at the peak of ripeness. I add them to our small stock pot and add 3.5 cups of filtered water from our tap. Give that a stir and bring it up to a boil over medium-high heat. Once all of the berries have burst open and their skins are cracked, I turn the heat off. Now we need to run the berries through the food mill. I'm using the finest disc plate, so the one with the smallest holes on it. This food mill is great for removing the skins and the stems if there are any, but I learned that it is not good for getting the seeds out of cranberries, so I will be doing that in another step. I poured the sauce back into the pot and quickly realized it was still loaded with seeds. So I ran the sauce through a mesh strainer using a silicone spatula, stirring and pressing down until all the sauce was separate from the seeds. It's also good to note to rinse everything that you're using after you use it because the seeds are so small that they will stick to the sides of the pot. So because I had put the sauce back into the pot before getting the seeds out, I rinsed out the pot again to make sure that there weren't going to be any seeds in the sauce. I then added the sauce back to the pot. I added 4 cups of sugar. And brought that up to a boil over medium-high heat again, constantly stirring to dissolve the sugar and prevent the sauce from burning on the bottom of the pot. There was quite a bit of foam forming, so to reduce it, I added between 1/2 and 1 teaspoon of butter. There are several gelling tests that can be done when not using pectin in a recipe like this. When you dip the spoon into the sauce, it will stick to it, and then the jelly or sauce will slide off in a single sheet. That's a good indication to know that it's done. I also have a candy thermometer, so I opted to use that first. You're supposed to wait for the sauce to get up to 220 degrees Fahrenheit. But the pot was so hot and I was really nervous that it was going to burn on the bottom, so I think it might have gotten up to maybe around 210 degrees, so not quite 220. But then I did the spoon test and it was fine. Now that the sauce has reached the gelling point that I'm happy with, I'm going to ladle the sauce into the jars, leaving 1/2 inch of headspace. The headspace is the distance between the contents of the jar and the rim of the jar. Overfilling a jar can cause the lids not to seal, And after all the work we're putting into this, we want the lids to seal properly. Then I remove any bubbles using the bubble tool and check headspace again. Once the jars are filled, I need to clean the rims. To do this, you need some distilled white vinegar and a lint-free cloth, a t-shirt rag, or a flour sack towel, something that does not leave any lint behind. I do not recommend a paper towel. They often leave behind little fibers, and anything that is left on the rim may cause the lids not to seal properly, so make sure the rims are clean before placing the lids centered on the top of the jar. These metal bands hold the lids in place during the canning process. They only need to be on finger tight, so just using the tips of our fingers, we tighten the bands down until resistance is met, and then tighten a little bit further. No need to tighten down any more than that. Now over to the water bath canner. I already have it filled with water and it's preheating. I'm putting the jars into the canner and making sure that there is at least an inch of water over the tops of the jars. Then I place the lid on, move the switch over to the canning position, and let it come up to a rolling boil. Once the water is at a rolling boil, I set the timer for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, I turn the canner off, remove the lid, making sure to use it as a shield to direct any steam away from my face, then let them sit in there for about 5 minutes more. This allows them to cool off slightly to help prevent any kind of temperature shock to the jars. Quick temperature changes can cause the jars to crack or break. So by gradually allowing them to cool off, it will help to prevent that. After the 5 or so minutes, I remove the jars from the canner and place them onto a towel on the countertop. Again, the towel is there not only to protect your countertops, but to also prevent the cool surface from coming in direct contact with the very hot jars. The temperature difference could cause the jars to break. If the bands are loose, there is no need to retighten them. The jars will sit on the counter for at least 12 hours before I remove the bands, label them, and store them in our pantry.
All right, so that's how we made cranberry sauce. Wasn't it easy? It was super easy, and it's really, really yummy. I'll taste some of it for you now, but this one was in the fridge. It didn't set up like the ones that went through the water bath canner, and the consistency is perfect, but I have to say, it is less sweet than the other one, but it's really good. So the next step for these will be that we take the bands off. I will stick a label on it and put it in our pantry. You want to test it to make sure that the lid is on good. You can just grab it and, test it that way. Just make sure that the little popper thing is down. We store it like this without the band on to prevent any kind of false seal effect. So that's why we do that. But I got 3 pint-sized jars of cranberry sauce going into the holidays that I'm very excited about. But I think that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.